I don't think
Oh,
I got
come
censored.
on.
I've got
Come
my
on.
channel going.
Nobody
We're
tonight
doing our
asked you to
thing.
come hang out. Nobody
Uh,
did.
good
But
one
you
sent me the link.
wanted so much female narcissism. Stop bullshitting. You got in the middle of that as much as you possibly could. You
No,
stuck your
no.
you stuck your nose you
When you
stuck your
told me
nose
to
so
mind my
far
own
into this
business,
affair.
when
You
you told
stuck your
me to
nose
mind my
so
own
far into this
business, I
affair.
went
Yeah.
and minded my own business,
For
and I
what? A
said,
week?
"Fine,
You minded your business
fine."
for a
I was
week?
like a
But I mean,
couple weeks
what? I mean,
actually.
what do we do? Do we send you a trophy?
No, Andrew, I just don't think that that was right. With you throwing me in the middle of all of that. Uh, Not only as a person, but as the moderator, that's not where it belonged. It shouldn't have been there because there's nothing I could have said or done to intervene in what was being said. There's nothing I could have said to uh, at all in that moment because I was held to that role of moderator, and I just don't think that was right. I think you could have argued the argument without throwing me into it altogether.
could could your boyfriend based Oracle could he have argued his argument without throwing Glenn in the middle of it?
That's not my worry because Glenn was not moderating that debate in that moment. I think that at the end of the day, that is between the two of you, and I did not need to be put in the middle of that. Not
Yeah, but the thing is that so base criticism was to me that you were going to allow somebody to go shooting with you the next day who was also going to moderate this debate. Therefore, he could not be objective. Therefore, um, he wasn't able to be unbiased. That was his argument. So my argument back was to point out a detail which was pretty obvious, which is, wait a second, is the current moderator who you have a relationship with of some kind, is that bias as well?
Well, let's think that through on how you actually said it that day
Yeah, I
versus
said
how
you're
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 saying
I
it
said you're
now.
banging I said you're banging the moderator. Yeah.
A little more different, but yeah, in any event, I still don't think that that was appropriate. Whether it's true or not true doesn't even matter in this
Well,
instance.
well,
Like,
well. Is it true?
it doesn't even matter. It's
Well,
not
I
even a
know, I
part
know,
of
I know.
the.
Yeah, if it doesn't matter, then you should answer because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter whether I am or I'm
Yeah.
not. It doesn't belong there. It's not something that's even like part of a public knowledge or something that is.
So let me get this straight. If someone accuses you of doing something, having some sort of relationship with a moderator, you can't use an example of your own? That is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. It's actually the thing you should do is use an example of your own. That is actually the only appropriate response that Andrew could have had.
Is being put out there in any terms or
Well,
whatever.
well. Let me give
So
you a
what I'm
counter. Let me
saying
give let me
is,
give you a quick counter here.
I just
So if
think you
you-
could have
if you-
done a better job of
Yeah.
making the argument without throwing me into
I
the
see. I
mix.
just think that you could have let me know up front that you might have been banging the guy
It,
before I after so after I'd
if I
asked
thought it
you
was an
so
issue,
after I had asked you about a debate and been like, hey, do you think you can come in and moderate this debate, and do you think you can get him to agree to it? And you're like, yeah. So then I sent you another follow up, and I was like, hey, it came to my attention that you could have a physical relationship with this guy,
I
which you
believe the words
avoided
were, "You're
answering.
banging this guy."
Yeah, which
Yeah.
you avoided answering. So then I was like, okay, fine, fair enough. You can. That's true. It's your business, right? But you can't avoid being biased, right? And you said yes. It's like, okay, fair enough, right? But I'm able to use that as an instant example, a counter example to this guy bringing up Glenn Lawrence, who also had nothing to do with the debate, right? But he brought him up, and it's like, what's good for the goose, good for the gander, right? Tip for tat.
But Glenn was not in that debate. Like,
Why does he
that's
have to be physically present in the
what I'm
room?
saying is
Why does a
is
guy need to
you
be
asked
physically
me. What
present
I'm
there?
saying is, Andrew, is you asked me to moderate it. for whatever reason on God's great earth, you asked me to moderate it.
Well,
So
I wasn't aware that that you were. I wasn't aware at the time you were banging the dude, Sarah. I wasn't aware when I asked that.
But being put in that position, means that I'm on neutral ground. But that also means like you can't come after me either in that moment.
Well, I wasn't coming after you. I made a comment to base.
But what does that do to me? Like that.
How is that coming after her? This is using the example. You can't expect a debater to not reply with the best example he could possibly have that's literally right in front of him. He has to. And you also can decline to moderate, you know.
That's
these people just like have no accountability. Everything's on Andrew. Andrew is always the bad guy no matter what.
Me in the middle of something that I'm not trying to be a part of.
So much female narcissism. Stop bullshitting. You got in the middle of that as much as you possibly could.
No,
you stuck your nose so far into this affair. You stuck your nose so far into this affair.
I went and minded my own business.
For what? A week? You minded your business for a week?
It was like a couple weeks, actually.
What do we do? Did we send you a trophy? I mean, it's like, but you did everything in your power. You did everything in your power to interject yourself into this thing for weeks.
One time.
Weeks. You've been following it. Weeks. You made content about it. You interjected yourself every chance you got. And then suddenly in a debate, oh, there's a physical relationship. And oh my God, Andrew, it's off limits. How could you? Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
All I'm saying is,
how could you do this to me?
I think you could have still made the argument without putting me in the middle of it. If you're asking me to moderate and you think that if there was any type of bias somehow, which you haven't spoken to, so I'm going to assume there wasn't any issue.
Let's clarify that point. Just one thing, because you keep saying one thing, Andrew's saying another. Andrew said when he engaged you to be the moderator and he had to go through you because, and I talked to him about this prior to all of this, he said the only reason he went through you was because he thought that was the only way base would actually show up. So if that's the truth, and he asked you not knowing any of this other stuff, and you said yes, knowing that you were in a relationship, or that
seemed to me to be a little bit dishonest. To be like, well, sure, Andrew, I'll set up this debate. Absolutely. Come to my channel, it'll be great. And then I have to find out this kind of key pertinent piece of information after the fact.
And in full, just again, just to keep everything kind of clear here, Andrew literally said he asked you about it the next day when he did find out about it. And that was actually Glenn and I that told him that. I
wouldn't have even known. I literally wouldn't have even known, except other people let me know that was going on. And I was like, oh. So
he had no idea.
So couldn't I make the same? So hang on. So couldn't I make?
Yo, guys, this is actually a really good snack. I usually don't eat junk food, but when I do, this is what you do. Has to be the low-fat Darigal. It's the only one that's good. And you're basically using it as dip for the flaming hot Doritos. It's really good. Super freaking good.
The same criticism back then and just be like, look, kind of shady to not let me know that so I could make an informed decision. You just kind of made it on my behalf that, well, it's not pertinent information.
You know what's funny? I found out that I blocked Sarah. I didn't even know who she was. Because it's funny, I've actually been like following her on YouTube. And then I randomly came across her account on Twitter. I think she's like followed by someone that I follow. And it showed blocked. And I'm like, wait, I blocked her? So obviously, I only block people when they're rude to me, so she must have been rude to me. I don't know what it was, probably arguing with me about something.
For you to know, even though, I think it kind of was pertinent information for me to know, honestly.
Well, let me ask you this. Was there
Uh-huh.
anything you felt that was unfair within that debate on my behalf?
No, not at all.
Okay. So then if I know going into that I can provide uh
That's not your choice to
completely,
make. It's not your choice to make for me. It's
That
not.
is
You don't get
actually
to.
true.
but
You
if
don't get to
you
make that. Hang on. You don't get to make that choice on
but
my behalf.
would I call out hardcore if I was to do that unfairly?
But
Like,
I
I'm
mean,
not
all
that
why?
stupid.
How? Why would this have been hard to do? To just be like, due to some personal business that I have going on, I'm going to recuse myself from this.
No,
I don't want to moderate. I don't.
I'm
Hang on.
saying if
Hang
I
on. How hard would it have been to just be like, look, there's some personal stuff, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. And yeah, it's maybe not ideal. She didn't want to get that out there, but also, why keep it a secret anyway? Why are you keeping your relationship a secret? What are you afraid of? But it's a two-way street. She didn't have to agree to do the debate. When you're doing a debate like that, you're making a commitment. You're putting yourself into that situation. You're risking something like that happening. Debates are crazy. Debates are mean. They're vicious. They're,
Right? That's it. And then I
but
would have been like,
even with
oh,
you believing that was true, you still took on the debate. So either way, there was no point.
well, I was kind of. It
If
would have
I
looked
know
real
that I'm
bad,
coming into this
Sarah.
with no conflict
Such
of
bullshit.
interest and you're
Such
accepting
bullshit.
it,
No,
but
no,
you're
no,
accepting it, you said, I don't
no.
give a no, I believe your words were, I don't give a shit who's hosting and whose channel is on and who's modding. I just want to
That's
get
right.
it done.
Right.
So
But the thing is it's not your choice to make for me. Right. It's obviously very key, pertinent information for me to know. Right. If I'm going to do a debate on your channel, if you might be, banging the guy I'm debating seems pertinent, right? For you, you don't even
I
have
have
to
a
tell me you're
better
doing
question.
that, but it seems pertinent to be like, there's a personal relationship here, and I can understand that, or there's something going on here that makes me think maybe I should recuse myself, right? And it's like, okay, then I have the option at least of knowing that there's a personal investment there. So it seemed a little sneaky to kind of not tell me about that. So, from my perspective, it's like, all's fair in love and war, right? You're gonna
So
keep that away from me. I can kind of hit you back, and then we're even.
I kind of have to ask
so
here.
it was only said out of a way to hit me back.
Well, no, I mean
No,
it
he
was said
didn't
in
mean
a
that.
response. It was said in a response to him bringing up Glenn. And after he brought up Glenn, I used that as an example. But I mean, it didn't hurt. What I'm saying is, it didn't hurt my feelings to use it as an example. I wasn't like, oh, wow, damn. She really think about how this could affect Sarah the same way she thought about how it could affect me, that she could be banging the guy I'm debating, right? Well, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying. That's just being fair here, right?
and more importantly, why would Base put you in that position if this is actually involved? If he was involved with you, or even thought that people thought that he was involved with you, why would he agree to you being the moderator? That's a huge thing.
All
I
I
can't
did
even
was
understand how
translate the information. I simply took it from Andrew. I sent it to Base. Base
but
said okay. I
that's
sent it back to
horrible
Andrew.
behavior. That's such bad faith to know that there
That's making
is this
assumptions.
issue.
Well,
What assumption?
I mean, the thing is, didn't you make the assumption that I wouldn't care? That's big. That's a pretty big assumption.
Well, do you care?
Well, I mean, ultimately, yeah, I may have made a different decision had I known that. I may have been like, blah, blah, blah. And the other thing is, because you didn't flat out tell me, right? I just kind of assumed, well, maybe this is just idle gossip, right? So she just doesn't want to entertain the idle gossip. That's what's going on. Maybe that's all it is.
You never
But
know.
it doesn't seem like it is.
He could have broken up with me and tore my heart to shreds, and I could have hated his fucking guts. And that would have actually
Yeah.
worked in your favor. So you
Yeah,
never know. You never
but
know
that's
what's
still,
going on back there.
that
But
would still
either
be
way,
pertinent information for me to know that there was a, relationship of some kind. So like my wife has, I've moderated debates for her. but I'm always upfront with the person. Hey, if you want to do this on the Crucible, that is my wife. I am going to moderate, and I'll be fair, right? But it's totally up to you. You know now what the relationship is. So, from my perspective, who cares? If you know what the relationship is, you have the information, you agree to it, that's fine, right? That's on you. But it just felt a little sneaky. So, while you have so little bit of self-righteous indignation, just know that I
Why
have a
would it
little
be
bit of
sneaky?
little bit of self-righteous indignation
You
too.
came out of nowhere and asked me to do that. Why would I? Like, why would that be? If I asked you if I
Well,
could
because
host and
because
moderate,
because clearly I was not under the assumption you were banging the dude I was going to debate, Sarah. Right? Clearly I wasn't, or I wouldn't have sent you a follow-up message asking, like, wait a second, hang on a second. Well, there's this thing that's going on that I now know about, and it just makes me kind of, what's going on here? Which I think is reasonable, honestly. But
I don't think it was a reasonable question the way you asked it. I think had you asked a little more respectfully, I would have actually been a little more respectful with an answer.
It's the wrong tone. It's always the wrong tone.
Well, I just
We
don't think.
we gotta tone police the whole fucking
No,
world.
I mean, if you want,
Sarah's never heard the
you're-
word fucking before. You've never heard that word. You've never heard the
Well,
word fucking. No one's ever asked you if you're
not gonna
fucking
come at
somebody.
me saying it that way and expecting me to be like, oh yeah, let me just get right back to you on that. I'm so excited to answer this question. Like something along the lines of, are you banging this dude and blah 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 blah. Like that's pretty degrading the way that that's asked. And I have no
Oh my
respect for
God.
that.
Oh, it's just such tone police. I've heard your show.
Oh, I
You
know.
you
And
are
I understand that.
you broads are some of the most foul-mouthed heathens I've ever seen. But oh no, don't you dare come to us and ask a coarse, crass question. Even though if you watch our show, we're fucking calling women whores and skanks and bitches and fucking everything under the sun.
Well,
But Andrew, it wasn't really that respectful, Andrew. You weren't that respectful.
Have I?
Don't you think it would be ethical to disclose the fact that you may or may not be involved with one of their bears romantically? I mean, I think sometimes I don't think you can argue that tone never matters. So I do understand what Andrew means when he says that. But I mean, sometimes it matters. Come on.
I not always been respectful when I work with you?
I mean, yeah, but I don't think I've been disrespectful working with you.
Well, again, with a question like that, was like,
okay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Sarah. Do you think that if you were a male on the other end, that I would have asked you that question any other way?
It's funny how like a submissive everyone is to Andrew. You notice how like everyone's afraid, or some people anyway are afraid to like. They're really nice about it, laughable, and I think people are afraid to get into a really deep debate with him because he's such a good debater.
I can expect you to ask it that way if I were a dude. Yes.
Right. So what you're asking for is special treatment.
I'm a girl.
Yeah, special treatment.
But I've also
Andrew, because I have a vagina, I deserve special treatment that you wouldn't give to people without a vagina. And it's like, no, I don't think so. I think that I would just straight up ask Glenn, hey, Glenn, you fucking this bitch? And he'd go, yeah. Or he'd go, no, I'm not fucking this bitch. What the hell's wrong with you?
Hell no,
and
I ain't fucking that bitch.
Right. And I would go, oh, all right. Bitch. Yeah, I'd go, all right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Glenn had a question too.
But Andrew, when it comes to the ladies, right? You really can't treat them like you treat the guys. And it has to be with kid glove. There's a special way this is done. We have to use a Sarah decoder ring. Make sure that it's done up to her snuff. I mean, it's like you know, it's the Schrodinger's feminist thing. Honestly, it's like I deserve to be in this space. I work hard. I have a good channel. I'm as good as any of these men. Got to treat me different though, because I'm not a man. Got to treat me different because I'm not a man. And it's like, well, you kind of can't have both. You kind of have to determine, like, are
I
you
don't
good enough
think
to
I've
hang out?
asked
Are
for
you
that,
good enough to
though.
hang out? Are you good enough to hang out with the boys, or do you want to be
I
treated like a
don't think
chick?
I've asked for that. The boys
So are you
asked me to
saying?
come hang out. I
Are
said
you saying?
I don't think
Oh,
I've asked for
come
that.
on.
I've got
Come
my
on.
channel going.
Nobody
We're doing
tonight
our own
asked you to
thing.
come hang out. Nobody did.
Grid
But
one
you
sent me the link.
wanted. Yeah, after you were in the chat asking for it,
I did not ask.
Well, yeah, she didn't ask. I was
but showed
asked
up,
to. Make sure
but
she
still
got one.
showed up, but still showed up in the chat, right? It's like, come on, you're over, you get involved in these spaces constantly. You're all over these spaces. You're all over these channels, right? It's like, on the one hand, I'm good enough to hang with the boys. On the other hand, you really got to treat me different than you treat the men in the space.
Well, you
And it's
can't
like,
expect me. I'm not saying that I'm crying over the way you talked to me in that moment, but what I'm
I mean, it
saying is
sounds
if
like
you're
you're crying
going,
about it.
no, what I'm saying is if you are going to speak that way, then I don't have to be responsive to that. That's just nah, I'm good. I'll answer the other question. The main point of the question is, will there be a conflict of interest? And
So, if it's asked in a certain tone, I'm not going to answer. So this is just a way of putting it on Andrew again, basically. It's your fault. It's always Andrew's fault. You notice that? With all these people.
that's what I answered to, because to me, that was the question that needed to be answered. No, I don't believe there's any conflict of interest in this moment. Not at all.
Yeah, I get it. But if you're saying,
I
but if you're
also
saying the
offered,
criticism is that I
to
treat.
have Michelle come on too and co-mod, or I would have even just had her, or we could have gotten something totally different. If it was an issue, if you even felt like there might be an issue, I would have happily said, fine, I can turn it over. We can have anybody come on.
Yeah,
Like,
but
that would have been
the
okay.
fact that I had to approach you after finding the pertinent information out, rather than you just like letting me know, yeah, I think that's kind of sneaky. But the thing is I didn't say anything about it. I didn't bring it up. Talk no smack, post debate, nothing. Right? All that happened was this: is that you basically are upset because you feel like I treat you like one of the guys.
No, I'm upset because you threw the moderator in with the debate.
Do you think if Glenn was there and I said to Glenn, or I said to Grid One, hey, if the person I'm debating, the chick I'm debating, hey, you're fucking Glenn. What are you talking about? Do you think Glenn would come on and be like, now, Andrew, the way you said that really hurt my feelings. Really upset.
Okay, I've heard the moderator's not supposed to get involved. But I haven't heard any kind of rules about not being able to involve the moderator if it's relevant, especially if it's like highly relevant. That was the best reply he possibly could have given. The best example to absolutely destroy base argument. It's like, it's the most obvious answer. In a debate, you go for the best possible attack, rebuttal, and that's the best one.
About that, it's just standard procedure. Like, the moderator's off limits no matter what. Like, I'm on a neutral standing point.
What do you mean? The moderator's not off limits in a debate.
Why would the moderator be off limits?
Go after fucking moderators all the time if they're shit
I'm talking
mods.
about in terms of your argument. Like, if like you had the opportunity to completely get a different moderator if you wanted, so it is what it is. But all I'm saying is, like,
yeah, I wasn't going to back out. I wasn't going to back out of a debate that I requested because I learned later that this thing was going on, because that would be a bad look, and I can handle it. But that doesn't mean that it was right. That's one. Doesn't mean that was right for you to do. It just means that just because I know I can handle the shit, and so I keep my agreement, that doesn't mean that you doing that was correct. That doesn't mean you acted correctly. It just means that I would do it anyway. And was very gracious that entire debate. Sent people over, sent you tons of super chats. I'm sure you got plenty of subscribers. I'm sure that the video is doing extremely well on your channel. I'm sure it's one of your highest rated, or it will be. Right? You did not suffer from this debate. Not one iota. There's just like no way that you did. So that's the truth. And really what your gripe is here, when I ask you the question, do you think I would treat any of these other people who would have happily moderated that debate any differently than you? The answer is no. So you're really just asking for special treatment. Treat me differently than you treat everybody else or how they treat you.
I mean, to be fair, you could have said, yeah, there is some involvement there, and Andrew, I'd love for you to have it on my channel. It would be really good for me, but let's get somebody else to moderate. I can suggest these 3 people, pick one. That's kind of a better way to handle it. Just, past, looking.
Look, I'm not even, listen. Let's not even, we don't even have to make it a thing. I'm not mad about it. You're not really mad about it, right? You just wanted to bitch a little bit because you're a woman. So you came on, you bitched a little bit, right? This type of thing. We don't even have to make it a thing. I'm not going to make it a thing. I'm sure I'll be on your, I'm sure I'll be on your channel debating down the road, right? It'll likely happen. So we don't have to make it a thing, right? But you do need to tell me and just be blunt. Do you want me to treat you like I treat all the other creators in the space? Or are you specifically requesting that just with you, I use kid gloves?
All I requested, or all I'm requesting, is that if something appears to be private information, bring it to the public eye.
Okay, well, now hang on. That's some bullshit too. Okay.
No, what I'm saying is, if
this was,
is not, if
I
I'm
did not bring this to the public eye. Come on now.
Let me explain it. If I didn't give you an answer to that question in the message, right? And if there's nothing publicly discussed about it that's very direct or anything like that, then that should tell you maybe I shouldn't touch this for some whatever reason. If it's behind the scenes or whatever, assuming it is, then why would you feel like you're doing something that is obviously not disclosed to the public eye? Just the same as, if it were something about I don't know, like my private life that you learned backstage from somebody else or something, like you wouldn't bring that to the public eye, because if I haven't talked about it, then it's off limits, right?
Yeah, if you sent me a DM and you were like, nobody knows but me and Based Oracle are boning, no, I wouldn't have said anything about it. Of course not. And I've never done that to anybody, by the way. Then there's 2 reasons why. The first reason is because it's bad etiquette. That's true. But the second reason is because I just don't give a shit enough about fucking people to care, right? So I just don't care enough. But in this particular case, this was already very public. Very, very, very public. And by the way, if it is very, very public, then either you or BO had to tell people about it. So, I don't know what you say about that. If it can't be public unless you told people. So, you know what I mean? How could people find out about it unless you told them?
I think it was just going based off rumor and gossip, which is fine. People are going to talk, whatever. But if I'm not coming out and speaking to it, and I haven't said anything to it and whatever, then.
What I want to know is why keep it a secret? Why is it such a big deal? What is there to hide there? Why does it matter?
That's where it belongs, for whatever reason.
Why would you want to hide that? Isn't that kind of like an insult to the relationship?
And what belongs there? But the last person I would want to even ever speak something so personal would be you.
Well, I mean, how personal?
That's a really good point. With this dude saying right here, Ghost 1978, Based Oracle. I mean, that's all he does is talk about personal shit. I mean, he's a bully.
But how personal?
He's a hater. He's like a light. That's what he does. Digs into people's lives and tries to point out every wrong. It's usually projection when people do that. Haters are projectors, generally speaking. Even Jesus said, if you hate someone, you've already committed murder in your heart. Because Jesus is smarter than you guys. He understands cause-effect logic. He understands what leads to murder. Use your cause-effect logic. What leads to murder? It's hatred.
is it really?
Well, what I'm
Like,
saying
what is like what?
is I've talked about relationships before online. I have no
Uh-huh.
issue with talking about that, but I've never said who. I've never said names, never give descriptions, things of that nature, you know,
Right.
and that to me is protecting other people. So whether it is with somebody who is online or isn't online, there's a reason why it's kept personal. You know, it's for
Hey, you put yourself out there, you pretty much sign away all that. I mean, you obviously want to be a celebrity. You're clout chasing. You're trying to, get all this clout. You obviously want to be famous. You're kind of signing that personal life away at that point.
protection of others, for personal space, for having something private. And let's pretend that
Then
whoever
you
out
should have
there,
recused.
well,
Then you should have recused yourself
it's
in the
what I'm saying
beginning
is
and
even if,
said and sense and let me know the pertinent information, because otherwise, it just looks like a setup, right?
do you
That's what
feel
it looks
set up?
like.
Do you feel set up,
Well,
Andrew?
whether or not that's
Was
not
it
your choice to
but
make.
was anything
It's yes,
done?
it felt like a setup. Yes, of course it did. Yeah.
Well, that's how it felt for me when you're dropping stuff like that in the middle of a debate that has to
Well,
do with
I
me.
can't. It can't be a setup for me, right? Because I didn't know about it till after I requested the debate. So there's no way I could have set it up. But yeah, felt like a setup. Sure. How would it not feel like you were set up if um if you're like, yeah, sure, absolutely, that sounds great. The guy agrees to it within fucking 30 minutes, and you're like, great, we got this debate. Then you find out immediately, there's a personal relationship going on there. How's that not a setup? Or how would that not feel like a setup?
But you didn't give a shit either way.
Well, because I went through with it, right? Because I can handle it doesn't mean you acted correctly. That doesn't mean that you did the right thing just because I did the right thing.
No, I knew I would do the right thing in the debate. Andrew, I already know that how you feel about this in that instance, because my best friend of 18 years was in a debate against you, and you were perfectly fine with me modding that, and that's somebody I've been closer to than most teenagers have lived. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Come
Yeah,
on, that's a little bit different than dating, screwing someone.
but I know what I'm walking into, right? That's the thing. It's like you know what you're walking into. That doesn't feel like a setup. It doesn't feel like you're trying to hide something. In other words, you know what I mean? That seems like a very pertinent thing that you'd want to disclose. That's all I'm saying. Just seems like it's something pertinent you want to disclose if you didn't want the other person to think that there was a setup going on.
well,
That's
I
it.
would
Now, I'm not
only
accusing you. Now, I'm not saying that your intentions were to set me up, and you most certainly didn't act in a way as though you set me up. I'm just saying, of course, I'm going to walk into a debate like that feeling like it's a setup, right? How would I not?
And then when it all ended and it was all right, it clearly wasn't
Yeah.
a setup.
And who brought it back up? You.
Well, I
You.
still don't think
And
that was fair.
who
I
didn't
don't think
bring it
that was
up? Hang on,
fair.
who didn't bring it up? Who didn't mention it? Who didn't say a word? Who is responding again to you? Me, right? I didn't say a fucking word about it. I thanked you very profusely. Said thank you for having me on the channel. Here's a little extra support your way. All right, enjoy this.
Yeah, you made a lot of money.
Have a great time, right? Hope you fucking get all the subs. Immediately remove the video and then send a link over to your channel, right? Made sure to do your channel right. And what do I get? Bunch of smack talking by the next day, right?
Well,
It's like, you could have just let it go like I did, but you didn't see it from my perspective. That's why.
well, that's why there's me and that's why there's you. We both are in position in two different places. And
Yeah, but what you
I
could have
feel
done
like I was
before you
used.
ran your mouth, Sarah, you could have talked to me first, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nope, got to make it public. Got to go right out there. Got to
Well,
get it.
isn't
Got
that
to
how
get
you
in
did
there.
it?
Got to
That
get
how
in
you did
there
it?
immediately.
You
Got to
went
get in
out
there
there and
immediately.
publicly did it. So I felt like like, again, you asked
Uh
me the question privately and I gave you my response. My response should have been pretty clear of how I felt about it, about how I would feel about telling anybody something of that nature. by not even speaking to it. Nope, no conflict of interest. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, right. But instead of thinking, this guy probably, instead of thinking, this guy probably felt like he was being set up, right? And then I was trying to keep this from him because now it's a setup. Happens that this backbiting guy who's been raging about him for fucking months, that's going to debate him. I just so happen to be, sleeping with the guy, right? It's not pertinent information, though. I'm going to be totally unbiased about it. Don't even worry about it. And I don't even need to tell him, right? And then he finds out from a third source, yeah, that looks like a fucking setup. That looks like you're purposely trying to keep that from me because you set me up. Of course it would look like that. But instead of seeing it from my perspective, and you could have just talked to me about it afterwards, right? You went, I better go on my channel and do a video, right? Talk a bunch of shit.
That's pretty good.
You better go make a video talking a bunch of shit instead. So it's like, I really don't feel like you got the moral high ground here.
That's okay. I don't have to have a moral high ground.
Yeah,
I don't have to be above anybody, but I have feelings, and that's how I feel. I feel like I got ran over.
I mean,
and not telling you information is because it's none of anybody's concern. Like, who are you banging? Like,
well, in this particular case, I think it was kind of my concern. I think it was. I think it was. I'm sorry, I think it was.
Here's how.
Hey, Andrew, I got a beef with Roxanne. Right? We're gonna debate. It's gonna be a fucking highlighted debate. You're a big let's do this, Andrew. Okay, that's great. Yeah, totally. Let me reach out to her 10 minutes later. Okay, Sarah, Roxanne is totally down. We're gonna do this in 2 days. How's that sound? Great, Andrew. That sounds awesome. And then Ashley calls you the next day and is like, oh yeah, do you know Andrew's fucking Roxanne? And he'd be like, oh yeah, well that's no problem. It's no big deal. Come on, it's no big deal. Like, what? No worries. Like, come on, what? Really? You believe that? Do you? If you put yourself in my shoes, doesn't kind of change things a little bit?
The way I thought of it, Andrew, at the end of the day was you've I don't think you've ever had issues with me treating you fairly on a debate. I don't think you've had any issues or anything to contest really in terms of whether I would be neutral or not. I don't think that was really your concern. And based on other things you've said to me, especially when you said that you had modded Rachel's debates before, and we were on a conversation, you said, you think I can't do this fairly? You think I can't? I was like, no, I do. But, it's just okay. And to me,
do you think that people don't know when I tell them that Rachel's my wife? I assume that they think I'm fucking her. I assume that they think that.
Andrew.
I don't think that. I don't think that they're like, oh well.
That's not the point at all. I hope you're
like. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? I'm totally upfront about the fact that I'm her husband, right? So I'm going to be moderating the debate. Yes, it's my wife.
I see that, but that is also in the public eye. That is something that's very much out there publicly. Everybody knows that's your wife, and it's reasonable, right? But to me, if there's something that is personal for me and it maintains that personal, private approach, then I have zero intentions of bringing it into the YouTube space or bringing it into debate. I have the ability to shut things off. That's why when I turn off the little screen, everybody disappears and I don't care anymore. And that's why when I turn on the screen, suddenly the personal life disappears and now I'm in the public eye, and it's being mindful of that. So
yeah, okay. Well, then the thing is like, then you shouldn't have them intersect, right? Then you shouldn't be, if you're going to be in the public light, there's going to be other public figures who you're involved with. You're both going to get criticized, especially if you're sleeping together. Ask me how I know.
Just really quick.
So like, it just seems to me like a really silly argument, and honestly, it's kind of backbiterish, Sarah. Not gonna lie, a little bit backbitey.
I don't think it's backbiting. I just think it's a fair assessment to say you could have made the argument without throwing me into it. You're a good enough debater. You could have made the argument without it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that that ultimately, so what? Who cares if I could have, right? The point is that there's nothing untoward about me doing it. What was untoward is that you should have let me know this kind of pertinent piece of information that was really pertinent to it. That, and then you didn't take any time, typical woman, put yourself in my shoes. And even though all that happens, right, I still, at the end of the debate, right, sent tons of people over, was super cool to your channel, and didn't bring it up again. Didn't ever bring it up again. Didn't say a word about it. But Sarah, you had to say some shit. Had to. Couldn't help yourself. I woke up this morning and I was like, I just have to say some shit about it. I have to. It's like, nah, you really didn't. You just like let it go. No biggie. But here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. So I think that all that's really gone on. Here's all I've learned from this whole conversation. Again, Andrew, I really need you to treat me differently than you treat the men in the space. That's all I hear.
How would you feel if somebody asked your daughter that question? That was what was said. And that's to put it into perspective, because at the end of the day, no man would want anybody to ask their daughter a question like that. That's how I look at it.
Well, it depends. Is my daughter moderating their debate?
My dad was watching that night. He was in the chat. Like, everybody knows my parents are very well informed.
Well, he must not have thought it was much of a big deal, because I didn't hear anything about it.
At Rachel Wilson, do women have different understandings on what is ethical than men? Because I'm confused. Can you cover this by joining me on my panel and discuss women's understanding of ethics?
Yeah, well, here, Glenn, let me just clear that up in 5 seconds. Women operate under the ethics of me, and men operate under the ethics of not me. So that's the difference in the ethical system. It's called solipsism. Women are naturally solipsistic. And yes, there's scientific study after scientific study proving this for all of you studies people out there.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because women have a different understanding of respect than men do.
That well. Too.
So I just didn't. I'm trying to. It's a serious question. Like, is there a different?
Did Sarah drop off? I think Sarah dropped off.
Well, just like how respect is different than men and women. Like, they do the Oprah Winfrey. You get respect. You get respect. You get respect. And then men's version of respect is merit based. Right. So I'm just wondering if they view ethics similarly, differently as men do. It wasn't a troll question. It was a legit question.
Yeah. And it is a legitimate question. It's a question which has been asked for 2,000 years. And the answer is yes. Yes, they do. Very, very different standards for ethics. Yes.
Maybe Sarah's a feminist or something. Maybe that's why she disagreed with me on X and I blocked her. I mean, it had to be a good reason. I only block people when they're rude to me. And sometimes my interpretation of rude is different than other people's, but.
So Sarah had a call from her daughter. So
point from this chatter grown chat. He says, I think Flo didn't want to do the debate here because he wants the views and supers. I agree. So I think that he wants to set the debate up on the Crucible, and he wants me to stream it from the Crucible, because he knows that if I have debates with people, I usually will try to move people over to their channel, because I do enjoy growing other people's channels, and people who will host debates have done legwork. And I think that there should be some reward in that. I'm happy to do it. I'm like, man, you set this up, thanks. Let me see if we can't send a little support your way. And the audience loves it too, right? They're like, hey, thanks for letting us come hang out. Thanks for letting us tangle. Thanks for allowing this type of content to happen. Everybody's enjoying themselves, right? But the thing is like, I almost wonder if I shouldn't be at the point where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll do the debate. We're just not going to do it on the Crucible. And I wonder if 90% of the inquiries from these fucking guys go away.
Or you should say that you're only going to do it on the Crucible, but you're not going to provide any information about their channel or allow them to dual stream.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point. I think that Flo just actually didn't want to do a debate because he wants access to the audience and then the rollover for supers and that kind of thing. Now they'll deny it, right? And there's no way for you to prove it. It's just It's just a feeling I've got because it seems like here's something you guys didn't know, right? Sarah actually, I couldn't believe this shit, right? This is mind blowing to me. But she was like, since I'm hosting the debate, I would like it to exclusively be on my channel.
Interesting. It's a bold strategy.
I was like,
Well, I mean,
I was like, what? What? That was kind of mind blowing to me, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why would it not be mind blowing to you? That's crazy.
And it probably wouldn't have gotten as many views if it was solely based on her channel, due to the fact that like her channel doesn't have the reach as Andrew's does. So Andrew's dual streaming it only spreads it out even more. I mean, she still gets the view count.
So this is a really good question from Athradia, right? Athradia, our resident not feminist. He says, between IPH, BO, Kirsch, etc., why aren't all the male content creators backbiters and never to be worked with again? So this is a good question, right? Because the theory here is like, it seems like most of the people who are backbiters, Andrew, are men, not women. Yeah, that's true, but not by percentage. That's the problem, right? Like most male creators that I work with overwhelmingly don't do this kind of shit. It's like a small percentage of them that do. It just so happens that there's so many more male creators that you're going to end up having a lot more males do the backbiting, but the overall amount's still going to be a smaller percentage. With the women, on the other hand, it's right around 99% of them that I've ever worked with. I almost always regret it. I almost always go back and go, and then you even try to give them a second chance and you fucking regret it again. You know what I mean? You almost instantly regret it again. You're like, I tried again. Maybe it was a one-off. And it's just like every single time. So that's why. It's a good question. I can understand why your mind goes there, but that's why.
Because you're not trying to judge everybody and hold it against all women. You're like, you know what? It might just be this one. Nope. Okay. This one's the same. All right, what about the next one? Maybe the next one's not going to be as bad.
Yeah, but you know what the wild, you know what the wild shit is? When I publicly said don't work with female content creators, it's just not a good idea. Almost every fucking female content creator I know DM me and was like, you're totally right. They're all a bunch of backbiting bitches.
Well, at least like the base one that I know that all agreed with you.
No, but the thing is like some of the ones who send those messages in themselves are backbiting bitches. And it's like
that's where some of these guys lose me, is the real black and white statements about women, man. It's like I'm not so black and white in the way I view women. Like saying they all of them are backbiters or all of them are solipsistic. So solipsism is more common among women, and I know I'm probably just sounding like one of those guys that say it's the exceptions, but I mean, it tends to be more along the lines of like 65 to 70% of women are a certain way, and then 35% are not. Kind of like thinking and feeling type. So 65% of women are feeling type, so it's going to be the majority. But then there's also going to be 35% thinking types. So it's not just rare exceptions we're talking about.
And they're the first ones on it, right? They're like, yeah, they're fucking awful. And I just like laughing my ass off.
Backbiters, you should only work with me.
Yeah, they're so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting to me. And it's really interesting to me how that the most of the female content creators I've worked with, which aren't very many because I just choose not to work with them, they seem very insincere. It's what can you do for me mentality, where most of the dudes that I've worked with have just been like, yeah, come on, we'll just do whatever, it's cool. Don't worry about it.
Well,
that's not what I've heard from other people. There's plenty of insincere male content creators.
So, I mean, so like Joseph goes 99%, but you don't do it again, idiot. I mean, that's a fair criticism. You know what I mean? It's a fair criticism. The thing is like, I just don't want to believe it. You know what I mean? And I do genuinely. I try to be good to people genuinely. I just try to not cause people actual problems. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll poke fun at them a little bit, but not like causing people real problems. You know what I mean? But that is not the case the other way around. That is not the case the other direction.
So, Andrew, do you know that, or I mean, I'm sure you know, how does it feel to have at least 12, maybe 16 hours or more of I was bullied by Andrew Wilson content put out?
No. There's thousands of hours of that shit.
I mean, just this
and
week.
It's like, yeah, well, I don't know. The thing is I don't know, man. I don't have time to pay attention to much of it. I only hear this shit because like I said, there's 2 chill streams I go on where I just like to blow off steam and talk to people because it's a really, and no offense.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of kind of the old days of the Crucible chat when I was first starting out, and it was a small chat, awesome. And I got to engage with people on a smaller level, right? Where the chat's kind of moving slow. You feel like you're kind of engaging individually one-on-one versus like now I just don't want to miss anybody, right? I'm at the point now where I just don't want to miss anything important somebody's saying. And that's all I can do. That's all I can do. You know what I mean? So I like going on I like going on kind of the smaller streams and hanging out. It's a nice way to decompress and actually talk to people. You know what I mean? In a much more kind of relaxed venue. You know what I mean? Where the stakes aren't as high for them or as high for you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on every single time, man. We had actually decided we weren't really going to talk about Sarah or anything right about the time you came in. Yeah. And it was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to talk about it anyway. So, that was awesome. We were just
that's the only time I ever hear about any of this shit.
Yeah. Well, apparently.
So I was trying to find whatever video they're talking about where Sarah was whining about something this morning. I can't find it on her channel, but I found her on her store. She has like a ton of merch, and they mentioned it. I heard that. Like literally, there's probably 50 sweatshirts and different pieces of clothing that are just "You're fucking the moderator." So okay, if she's so upset about this getting out, why would she make 50 sweatshirts and start selling them on her store, on her channel, all saying "You're fucking the moderator"? Just further spreading it around. Like, and she's here complaining. That makes no sense at all. And you can't say that it's because, oh, she knows it's out now, and so she figures, why not? No, because that's going to make it worse. If it's out, that's going to get it out to even more people. So that makes no sense at all.
There's been, and they're getting a little smarter because they're hiding, or they're at least monetizing it so that they do it behind members only streams. So you know, kind of control the masses so people don't know what they're spewing in there. But that's cool because I don't want to know. Anyway.
I mean, that's kind of stupid though. That just shows you that they don't know what fair use is. So you can just buy a membership and download the fucking stream, and then you can rebroadcast it all you want. Just because it's behind a member wall doesn't mean it's not fair use.
Right.
That's like
behind.
That's the only time I ever hear about any of this shit.
Yeah. Well, apparently there's been, and they're getting a little smarter because they're hiding, or they're at least monetizing it so that they do it behind members only streams. So you know, kind of control the masses so people don't know what they're spewing in there. But that's cool because I don't want to know. Anyway.
I mean, that's kind of stupid though. That just shows you that they don't know what fair use is. So you can just buy a membership and download the fucking stream, and then you can rebroadcast it all you want. Just because it's behind a member wall doesn't mean it's not fair use.
Right.
That's like, I don't know where people got that assumption that if you put it behind a member wall that it's no longer fair use.
I don't think that's what Grid was saying.
Because it's still very much fair use.
Yeah.
It's still very, very much fair use.
So I saw somebody earlier in the chat. Chat, help me out here. Somebody posted that the stream that she did today, which was all about Andrew being unfair and owing her $200 or something, that's now behind a member. You have to. It's behind a paywall, like it's $100 or something to view that stream. Is that accurate? Is that real? So, but somebody will know. But yeah, I don't. 99.99. That's true. No shit.
Let me see.
Wow, Andrew, you should be honored. It costs a lot of money for someone to see Sarah talking shit about you.
I don't see anything.
No. I hope they enjoy it.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I wouldn't do that. That's crazy.
You can tell.
I wouldn't.
It's funny. You can always tell when Andrew's about to leave. He's getting bored. He gets a little more quiet. Bet you anything he leaves soon.
99 cents, but I mean,
right, yeah, well,
but that's just me, you know what I mean? But in any case, yeah. So I mean, that's why I like to do that. I like to go on. There's a couple of streams I like to go on in the evenings if I'm not doing something else, where it's good for me to decompress and just talk to a smaller audience and chat with them. It's just fun to do.
He's such an extrovert. It's crazy when people try to say he's an introvert. He literally says that the reason he goes onto streams is because he loves talking to people.
Well, I appreciate you coming on this one. Apparently, there was a really big panel with Playing with Fire and some other guys tonight. So I honestly didn't expect to have hardly anybody in here. We were just gonna.
Yeah, but it's with what's her name, Thorpe.
No, well then that's
so actually, panel. Somebody sent me a picture of that where
Michael Sartain's on there as well, I think.
So during that stream, Ben Thorpe actually came into the picture behind Grace during the stream. So he's probably going to go back to jail now.
Probably.
Somebody's going to report that.
Well, no, as long as he's not in the same state.
Andrew doesn't care.
On the state of Rhode Island.
He comes into the picture behind her.
Yeah, but if he's not in
ENTJ's, dude, he is so much like my brother. It's not even funny. ENTJs, man. Andrew is so much like my brother. If he's just like not interested in something, he's like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about that.
Rhode Island, it's not going to.
Oh, not in Rhode Island. Yeah, I don't know where the hell they are. Maybe they're in like.
Andrew's basically like, why you guys talk about this? He doesn't care.
Or somewhere.
If they're in a different state, they're not going to. They're not going to.
So, I'll give you guys some advice, right?
Yeah, don't care about the Thorpes. I don't.
Don't ever.
I predicted it.
There's two rules on the internet. The first rule is that Andrew Wilson's always right, and the second rule is never trust the Thorpe.
I like both of those rules. The first one's, it seems a little shaky, but I'll try it. And but the second one is legit, guaranteed. I don't want to have anything to do with those. I don't allow Grace on the stream at all anymore after her last debacle. So,
two rules.
Just like I
That's it.
I don't let iFi on it. He's really bent that I don't let him on my stream anymore. Like he brings it up in like on every stream that he goes into. Oh, Sarah's back.
Oh,
There's
sorry.
Sarah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I thought you were done for the night.
She is good to go, but it always scares the crap out of me when she calls and something's going wrong, and I'm like, ugh. Anyways, but Andrew,
Sarah, do you have a $500 paywall for your members to see you talk shit to me?
No, that's
no.
based Oracle.
No, no, definitely, I would not expect that.
Based Oracle does.
Mr. Boulay, this super chat is sponsored by Tactical Soap. Try our new scent, Glenn's Musk. An aroma will make you live stream all night long.
How does Based Oracle only have 652 subscribers after all this clout? I don't see a paywall. Holy shit, there's actually videos of him without a hat on. He looks so much different without a hat. He should probably keep the hat on. Sorry, I'll come back to the. I don't see a paywall on anything.
Made with teak wood and Glenn's Yummy Mojo, you'll stand out like a boss. Tactical soap.
Boss mode.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't hate you, Andrew. I never have, but I like to.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you, Sarah.
You hate
I wouldn't give a fuck. I wouldn't give a
I
fuck
know
if you
don't.
did.
I know
I don't give a fuck either way. I'm just saying to you ultimately that I'm 100% right and you're wrong. That's all.
And that's fine. That's
Yeah.
okay. I'm okay with being wrong in any instance. We all learn lessons along the way, and that's part of.
Wait, yours is $100. Your membership?
No, I think that's like the highest tier. I think like $2.99 is a level, the bottom level. Or
Dude, I gotta show you this for a second. This is ridiculous. Dude, this guy is literally obsessed. He's literally obsessed with Andrew Wilson. You gotta see this. Hold on. His entire community page is just all Andrew. Look at this. 4 days ago. That looks AI generated. That's ridiculous. I mean, like, this guy is one hateful guy. Look at this. Every single one's about Andrew. Look at this. Look at this. Everything's about Andrew. It's a jealous guy. Clearly very jealous guy. Look at everything. This one's about Glenn. His whole channel is just based on hating people. Everything. Literally everything except for one so far. another one about Glenn. Look at this.
It's $2.99 for one of them. And then I think it's $5.99, and I think it's $25, and then I think it's like the $99 one. I don't know. There's 4 different tiers. I went like based off of YouTube's most recommendated recommendations. Recommended. In any event, I think we can throw our smoke at each other and still shake hands at the end of the day and be fine.
Andrew's gonna leave.
And nobody's getting their feelings hurt. Nobody's butt hurt. And bygones are bygones. And
I don't know, Sarah. My feelings are kind of hurt.
Yeah, honestly, my feelings are kind of hurt.
And his feelings are kind of hurt too.
Happens.
Everybody's feelings are kind of hurt, Sarah.
All right, Andrew.
My top level membership's only $19.99 a month. My feelings are really hurt. You guys are.
Yeah.
Then Andrew, I apologize. I apologize, Andrew, for hurting your feelings and for talking shit about you.
Well, Sarah, I accept your apology.
You're very welcome. I'm glad we can do that and move on.
And Sarah, I'm sorry that you did that.
See, this is the benefit of being a woman. There's no ego or pride involved in it. We can happily say, you know what? That's okay.
Anyway, all right, guys. Well, look, I got to get out of here to go play some Trivial Pursuit.